Right now we're doing a wreath-laying ceremony here. We've been doing this for the past 150 years, and a lot of people throughout history, presidents, or heads of states, other important people have also done this wreath-laying ceremony. Basically, we're going to honor the contributions of George and Martha Washington to our history in terms of Washington and his service as the commander-in-chief and later as president. Of course, Martha Washington. So I'll start by giving a little background information. Washington was initially buried in what's called the Old Tomb. So some of you probably saw that up there, but that was built by his half-brother about 50 years before, over 50 years before he passed. By that time, however, it was growing a bit crowded and just needed a bit of work. Or Washington figured it wouldn't be able to be fixed. So he, in his will, said he wanted a new tomb in this area. There was previously a vineyard over here. He wanted it over there, and also to be made of brick. Later, when he passed on December 14th, 1799, himself and later Martha Washington were not buried in this new tomb yet. They were built. They were in the old tomb. There was a plan to possibly bury Washington under the developing Capitol building in D.C., and there is still a crypt there where he could be buried, but later the executors of his will stuck by his desire, and then this new tomb was built in 1831 by Washington's great nephew, John Augustine Washington II. He was the owner, I guess, the inheritor of Mount Vernon at this point. This tomb was built in 1831, and at that point, everyone from the old tomb, which is about 20 people at that point, were all translated from there to this new tomb. At the moment there, if you look behind the black door, that is the vault, where there are 25 other family members buried. Additionally, besides on the front, George Washington on the right coffin, and Martha Washington in the left coffin. These were newer coffins built in 1837 by a Philadelphia stonemason called Job Struthers. They were built a bit bigger than perhaps they could have been, so they weren't able to fit in the vault. That's why there's sort of a gap between them. On that little plot of land over there, that is where Nellie Custis, Washington's step-granddaughter, is buried, alongside her daughter and then her infant granddaughter. Some of the other figures in this vault include Washington's half-brother Lawrence, a lot of Washington's nephews and nieces, and then Martha Washington, her daughter, and a few of her other descendants. And these two monuments are for the owners of Mount Vernon after George and Martha Washington. First, his nephew Bushrod Washington, who was actually a member of the United States Supreme Court. Then his great-nephew John Augustine II, and finally his great-great-nephew John Augustine Washington III. In 1858, Mount Vernon, the estate as a whole, was sold to the Mount Vernon Ladies Association. Though initially that actually didn't include this plot of land. This was bought a bit later. But the last family members to be buried in the vaults were in 1858. Now I'll have you read, this is a letter Washington wrote to the governors shortly after the Revolution had ended, but before the Constitution was signed.
Now make it my earnest prayer that God would have you and the state over which you preside in his holy protection, that he would incline the hearts of the citizens to cultivate a spirit of subordination and obedience to government, to entertain a brotherly affection and love for one another, for their fellow citizens of the United States at large, and particularly for their brethren who have served in the field. And finally, he would most graciously be pleased to dispose us all to do of mercy and to demean ourselves with that charity, humility, and pacific temper of mind, which were the characteristics of the divine author of our blessed religion, and without an humble imitation of those of whose example in these things we can never hope to be a happy nation.
Thank you. Now open this gate. Put the wreath in between these. Yes. Yes. Yeah, then you can, or I guess we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yep, and thank everyone for coming and witnessing and participating in this memorial.
Thank you.
Yep, I'll have two certificates for you guys, and then I'll just, you guys can come on up, take pictures. Oh. Yeah, I'll just put this chain up and then